Iowa. The heartland, rolling hills, with lush farmland that feeds the world. The Knapp family has long had a great affection for the land, but the early hours of chores and the long days of manual labor, all while at the mercy of Mother Nature, can take their toll. That's why in 1922, William Knapp moved from the family farm in Allerton, Iowa, and took off for Detroit to work at a Ford Motors plant where he could make $6 a day. While there, he met and married a French beauty, Anna Elizabeth Nissel-Billen. And on July 18, 1926, William Clare Knapp was born. His brother Paul was born a year later. But in the summer of 1928, the Iowa land beckoned, and they all moved back to the Knapp family farm just 12 miles north of the Missouri border. A couple of years later, a sister was born, Mary Louise, and then 12 years later, another sister, Carolyn. Billy Knapp and his siblings grew up in the time of the Depression, when life was a lot simpler, but also more strenuous.
I think I'd have probably stayed on the farm, or might have, if we hadn't been in the dairy business. But it was so demanding, and you couldn't. It was overwhelming. You had to be there all the time, and we'd bring the cows in, milk the cows, and we had to do it by hand, and then walk a mile and a half to school and back and do the chores. So you can kind of see why it's something that you wouldn't just want to do the rest of your life.
So at 17, Billy graduated from Allerton High School and enlisted in the Navy. He was ready to serve, but he was also a minor, so his parents had to give him special permission to join. He was stationed in the South Pacific during World War II on a troop ship designed to dump its cargo of Marines onto the beaches of Okinawa.
You start to grow up quite a lot and pretty fast. You know, to see the destruction and the death. And we'd take troops into the beach and then take the dead and wounded back to the ships because they laid out about 5 miles off the beach. And so to see death and to see the destruction of war was quite a deal at that time.
Billy returned home from the Navy in 1946, but was still determined not to farm. He married a local girl, Irene Hill, and proceeded to struggle from job to job, separating butterfat from whole milk, making concrete blocks by hand, and then finally in 1947, he and his bride opened the I&B Cafe in Allerton, and it did quite well. But they soon discovered that running a restaurant was hard work with long hours, much like farming. After 6 months, they leased the restaurant and took off for Des Moines. Bill didn't really know what he wanted to do with his life, but he knew he wanted to make money. The problem, though, was that he continued to struggle through low-wage, hard labor jobs. Then it occurred to him to sign up for the GI Bill and attend, all expenses paid, the American Institute of Business. His goal was to master shorthand and become a court reporter, but he later switched to general business and completed studies at AIB in 18 months. And then he finally found his calling. When the lease was up on their old restaurant business, Bill called a longtime Des Moines real estate broker, W.K. Brewer, and listed it for sale. A few days later, Brewer called to see if Bill could take a potential buyer to Allerton. Bill sold the client on the restaurant all by himself, but then had to pay Brewer the commission of about $800. This was a revelation and started Bill working toward his destiny.
The restaurant got me kind of in the real estate business because I wanted to get rid of it, and I had never thought of it. Back in those days, my dad told me, he says, "My God, son, real estate, that's you do that after you've retired." It was unusual for young people to be in the business at that time.
Bill did get his real estate license and proceeded to work longer and harder than his older colleagues. But by 1952, his employer at Hollis Realtors was falling far behind in paying commissions to his agents, especially Knapp. He owed Bill $8,000, so the two men struck a deal, and Knapp got the real estate firm with no money down, which he then renamed Iowa Realty. Iowa Realty needed new agents, so along came Ken Granquist, and later Bill's brother Paul, that formed a powerful trio that propelled Iowa Realty to success. Ken and Paul oversaw the sales and management, while Bill handled investments in land and properties. These developments were risky ventures that paid off. In 1985, Bill sold an 80% controlling interest in Iowa Realty to the Central Life Assurance Company, but remained at the helm until selling the remaining 20% to them in 1992. That's when he founded a new company, Knapp Properties, in order to continue the development and management of his real estate interests. Since then, it's grown into Des Moines' premier real estate development, management, and brokerage company. But along the way, Bill also learned to use his business talents for the betterment of the community, leveraging his money and influence to help others.
I think that we can't forget where we came from, and we certainly have got to, if you're successful at all, you owe a lot to come back and take care of people that didn't have the same chances you did with maybe the right parents and education. So that's been one of the things why I feel that you've got to put something back.
Bill gave back to the community through improving social services in the inner city, such as providing daycares and low-income housing for families in need. He helped to revitalize downtown Des Moines with residential projects, skywalks, parking facilities, and hotels. He also helped to raise money for the State Historical Building and insisted on its current location to help revitalize the downtown East Side, now known as the East Village. Knapp also felt that in order for the city to thrive, it needed a great university. And this concern drove him to help turn Drake University around in the 1980s by first developing a welcoming neighborhood and then by improving campus life. Bill has donated millions of dollars to higher education. And today, he and his wife, Susan Terry Knapp, continue to support our city's quality of life through donations to recreation and area attractions. They pay tribute to our heritage and freedom and help preserve the largest cultural event in the state, the Iowa State Fair, celebrating our rural roots and enriching millions of people's lives with a slice of Americana.
You know, I've noticed in life a lot of people, the more they get, the more they want, and the more conservative they get. I don't like that. You know, I think they're missing a lot in life, is all I can tell them. When they give every excuse not to give, they're missing an awful lot.
6 decades in the real estate business and an appreciation for the Iowa land that has brought him and his family so much, and has brought our community so much as well. His investments in economic development, human services, higher education, and the arts, all components of a thriving cultural city. Please recognize William C. Knapp with the 2012 Bravo Award.